Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Aaron Gravel, and I work with the Department of Energy at the Idaho Operations Office. And on behalf of the U.S. Department of Energy and Office of Nuclear Energy, we welcome you to the webinar for the FY18 Consolidated Innovative Nuclear Research Funding Opportunity Announcement, otherwise known as DE-FOA-0001772. We'd like to certainly appreciate each one of you and the time that you're taking out of your busy schedules to be a part of the webinar today. And the purpose of the webinar is a follow-up to the webinar that we originally presented to you in early August of this year. And as most of you know, we've recently been able to post the FOA, and it's out there, and that's why we're doing this follow-up to go over some of the changes. I'd like to certainly recognize any leadership and for their efforts to help us get the FOA posted, and for all of those that have been a part of that process. And we're excited that it's there, and we certainly look forward to your participation and your questions and the applications that will hopefully result. So with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Greg Belay, and Greg and his team do offer a wonderful support and tremendous effort in helping us with the Nuclear Energy University program, and in particular with this funding opportunity announcement. And we're certainly grateful for all of their efforts and everything that they do to support this. And I'll turn the time over to Greg now.
Thank you, Aaron. I'd like to note that we have representation from NSUF here in the room. We have the contracting officer, as well as folks from the CINR staff, and we have John Gilligan as well, available by phone. So we should be able to answer the questions you have. Certainly some of those questions will be situation specific. So if we do happen to get into one of those questions, we're happy to handle that offline to the extent necessary. Asking questions during this webinar is consistent with all of the other opportunities that we've broadcast, so most of you are familiar with that. You can just type your question into the dialog box. We'll be making an attempt to summarize those questions as they come across and answer those. We will capture and transcribe all the questions for posting to the website, and we're also recording the webinar so that we can have a durable record of it for your colleagues that might be unable to attend today. There are a few things that are different. That's what I've captured in these slides. So we'll just be handling those changes. For the NEUP and NEAT sections of the FOA, we have no pre-application process this year. So you'll go directly to your full application. Although our eligibility requirements have not changed, we only compete on as many applications as you would be eligible to win as a principal investigator. We'll be talking about those eligibility restrictions in just a few minutes. We have added 2 work scopes to the FOA since it was originally socialized in August. We'll be giving overviews of both of those at the conclusion of this general overview. And the IRP work scope for the year has been rescinded. For NSUF, while there is no pre-application process per se, the letter of intent and the pre-application has been combined into a single effort. It's now known as the access request. That will be required for any effort asking for support through NSUF, which equates to NSUF 1, NEAMS 2, and NSUF 2. Again, you may only compete on those work scopes that you will be eligible to lead. The NSUF 2 full application process, this would be for access only, is going to be out of phase with the rest of our effort this year. By that we mean it will be delayed so that we can handle the processing and review to actually make the award announcements in a time frame that's consistent with years past. All of your NSUF submittals, including NEAMS 2, must also be accompanied by a statement of work, and that will be processed online and appended to your already submitted NSUF access. Here's some important dates for you. These have been changed and updated. While we did release the FOA officially On October 19th, the work scopes themselves, with the exception of those that have changed, were released on August 3rd. The NSUF access requests will be due on November 8th. Infrastructure applications, while not part of this effort, we felt would be important for your scheduling needs. Do be cognizant that those are due on November 30th. The NSUF 1 and NEAMS 2 invitations will be issued on or about December 19th. Again, those invitations are durable. By that, if you are not invited to submit, you may not submit a full application. The statement of work for NSUF 1 and NEAMS 2 will be due by January the 12th of 2018. Full R&D applications, with the exception of NSUF 2, will be due on January 23rd. The invitations for the access only, the NSUF 2 area, should issue on or about March 20th, and your final statement of work for NSUF 2 support will be due on April 26th. The applications themselves for NSUF 2 will be May 17th. The organization of the FOA has not changed, but do understand that Appendix C has been redacted. So that leaves us with A, which is the up to 20% support through NEUP, containing program and mission supporting efforts, primarily for universities. And Appendix B is for universities, national laboratories, or industry-led R&D. That is only program supporting this year, and if you are an industrial applicant, you may lead only on applications submitted to NSUF work scopes. However, you are welcome and encouraged to be partners on all work scopes. Submittal guidelines, again, I want to stress that these have not changed. However, you will be held to the full application guidelines. You will be ineligible to submit if you're a PI on an active IRP, a lead PI on an active IRP. If you're a university PI with 3 or more R&D projects active after December 31st, 2018, you are ineligible to submit. And if you hold a no-cost extension, which will go beyond December 31st, 2018, you are also ineligible to submit. You may only have 3 active R&D projects at any given time. We do hold NSUF separate to these requirements, as those may be extended projects where the R&D might window in with other projects that you have. For NEAT CTD funded research, do recall that all applicants are limited to 3 applications per institution per work scope area. For our university PIs, those applications do count toward your individual application limits. Again, NSUF projects that request R&D support are evaluated on a case-by-case basis, and NSUF access-only applications are exempt since those are completed at an NSUF facility and not by you personally as an investigator. There is a flow chart that I have reproduced here. This is available on the web at neup.gov. Again, Appendix B applicants, you are limited to 3 applications per institution per work scope area, and those become part of the flow diagram that's depicted on the slide. And existing no-cost extensions ending before December 31st, 2018 aren't subject to restriction. And if you're planning on a no-cost extension for projects ending in 18, you are required to submit that by April 15th of 2018. Review processes and criteria have not changed, although we have no pre-application process, but you do have the access request for NSUF. So we have program supporting and mission supporting applications. Those are still reviewed in a semi-blind process. I want to remind you the technical merit and relevancy weighting, while not changing, mission supporting is 80-20, program supporting 65-35, and for NSUF access, that also is 65-35. Here's a summary of the updates. No pre-applications. 2 new work scopes for R&D with no IRP. You can compete only as many applications as you are eligible to win. All NSUF applications require the NSUF access request. NSUF 2 will be delayed this year to meet our scheduling requirements. We anticipate that the FY 2018 projects will start on October 1st, therefore not losing a research cycle for NE. and we do expect that these changes are for this cycle. Contact information also consistent with our past effort. So we have our TPOCs that you can find on the web at nup.gov. Procurement questions can be directed to Joanne Hanners, whose email address is listed here. For general application submittal questions, we have 2 phone numbers that you can contact, or you can submit to our general mailbox at nup@inl.gov. With that, we'll leave some dates on the screen and see if we have some questions that we might be able to answer for the community.
All R&D applications do not require pre-applications, and full applications are due on January 23rd, 2018. Yes, that's true. Second question, if I am now a PI on a current program, can I be a partner with another PI?
Yes, you can be a co-PI on any application this year. Your restriction is for the principal investigator role on the applications you'll submit this year.
It says, how about number of application limits as a co-PI?
We don't have any limitations on the number of applications you can be on as co-PI. That was a limitation that was attributed to the pre-application.
For NSUF access request, does the narrative have to be semi-blind? For example, can we include team member names?
While the narrative is semi-blind, the facility can be revealed.
Why was pre-application removed this year, although I like it?
That was strictly a function of having a limited amount of time. While the FOA was being approved for release, we quickly realized that to unfold the entire process, it was just not doable. So to actually get a call on the street that would result in projects beginning on October 1st, we had to think a little outside the box, so pre-applications were rescinded.
Can we reveal NSUF facilities in NSUF with R&D support?
Yes, you can.
For program supporting topics in Appendix B, if the university is leading the proposal, is there a limit on the percentage of funds that can go to non-university partners?
In Appendix B, no, there is not.
What is meant by active PI on an 3 R&D project? A NEUP project or any R&D project?
That would be for a project that was funded through a prior year CINR.
Does being a co-PI or a subcontractor for a national lab count?
No, it does not.
Can you comment on holdup on funding for this fiscal year? I understand some projects are held up at headquarters.
There are a couple of projects that are still being held, and I know that they're working through some of the details of getting that resolved, but I don't have any further information at this time. And certainly, it's all of these awards are always pending availability of funds, and from time to time, these things do happen. So I do know that they're still trying to work out a solution, and that's all I can talk to right now.
For NEUP proposals, is the participation of a national lab a requirement?
No, it is not.
Is there a limit on the number of projects for which a person can be a co-PI? Sorry, we already answered.
No, there's not.
How about the number, I guess this is the same question, how about the number of application limits as a co-PI?
No, not as a co-PI.
Is there a way to obtain depleted UO2 pellets from DOE for funded projects?
We're going to have to do a little homework on that question. I'm looking around the room and we're getting a blank stare.
You said that applications can only be submitted by invitation. What is the process for getting an invitation to submit a proposal?
That would be only for the NSUF applications. So as you submit your access request, that will be evaluated. Then we intend on issuing invitations on or about December 19th. Those would look a lot like the invitations that were issued from our pre-applications last year and years past, consistent with those years. For NSUF only, if you are not invited to submit an application, you may not. And the reason for that is the cost of the feasibility assessment that accompanies a full application.
Okay, next question. I'm new to this. What is the definition of NSUF 1 versus NSUF 2 applications?
NSUF 1 applications are requesting access to NSUF infrastructure and dollars for R&D support, while NSUF 2 is only requesting access to facilities. I'm reminded here in the room that as a clarification, NSUF does not fund any investigator activities, including travel.
Can a PI from an NSUF partner facility A submit a proposal for NSUF with R&D support to utilize facilities in A and B?
Absolutely.
When will the final result of NEUP full proposals be announced?
We anticipate in the early June timeframe, consistent with years past, with projects to start by October 1.
Will the slides for today be made available on the NEUP website?
Yes, and the recording of the webinar will also be made available.
Can we send white papers to program managers to get feedback for relevancy?
No, you're free to contact program managers, but we have no pre-application process this year.
It makes sense for the work scope. If it makes sense for the work scope, can a private company be partnered with a university and receive funds as a subcontractor?
Yes, as long as that private company is not a foreign entity.
If I understood correctly, the national lab participation for NEUP is not mandatory. Will it be any drawback if we don't include a national lab for NEUP?
No, it will not.
If the work scope and FOA differ in project scope, new sensors R&D under NEAT became an NSUF. How does that change the nature of the relevancy and the R&D portion?
If I understand the question, you're looking at the difference between the work scopes that were originally posted and those work scopes that accompany the FOA now. The only work scopes that are on offer are those work scopes that are currently in the FOA that was recently posted.
Are NEAT 1, NEAT 2, etc. considered individual work scopes for the 3 proposal limit per work scope per institution?
Yes, they are.
If I can get NSUF services at a university, do I still have to submit an application for access at the government NSUF?
No. If you can get those the services you need from a university, you're free to use those. But if you need access to an NSUF facility, the only way to gain that access is through application.
If an industrial partner is providing in-kind services to the project, do these services need to be reported as cost sharing in the proposal submission?
I'll go ahead and turn to Joanne Hanners for an answer on that.
Yes, please include that.
Are NSUF 1.1 and NSUF 1.2 separate work scopes for the 3 proposal limit?
Yes, they are.
If my project has a no-cost extension until December 1st, 2018, am I eligible to submit a proposal this time?
Yes, you are.
How many projects will be funded for each topic? Say NEAMS 1.4? Question. I assume that this is an R&D project which requires only the full proposal submission.
It is an R&D project which requires a full application submission. And at this point in time, we don't have a codified budget to make a forecast for how many projects would be ultimately funded.
Would the total number of new NEUP awards be approximately the same as last year?
I think you could say within a ballpark that's a reasonable estimate. However, projects are always pending funding, and DOE always holds the right to redirect.
If an industry is partner on an R&D application, is cost share required from industry?
Is that on? Yeah. So cost share for industry collaborators is required.
And you can gain that detail in the FOA as well under cost share.
How many months of summer salary per year is maximum allowed for university proposals? Okay, I'm going to repeat the question. How many months of summer salary per year is maximum allowed for university proposals?
There's no stipulation in that regard for summer salary.
Okay.
Let's make a clarification on the cost sharing. We're going to research that a little more because there may be an exception.
And
on the cost share question, we will research that a little bit more. There have, in past FOAs, there have been exceptions to that rule, and so we'll research that. We'll post it out on NEUP.gov. So please be aware all of these questions will be posted out on NEUP.gov, and you can look back on the document that's posted out there in the next few days to see what the answer is to that cost share question.
What is the percent limit of funding that can go to a FFDRC for a university-led project?
20% in aggregate. Specifically, if you have 2 national laboratories, they would be sharing that 20%. It would not be 20% each. And that aggregate also includes all non-university partners.
Back to the cost share question, just looking at the FOA now, we're looking in Part 8, Section H, and I recommend that you go there and take a look at that as well. If you have any further questions regarding cost share, you can certainly ask those, but the way that I'm seeing this now is that the FOA does require a minimum of 20% cost share from awardees, except for applications led by U.S. Educational institutions. So if it's a university prime, then of course that eliminates the need for the cost share. But please take a look at that, and if you have any questions or if there's still some confusion on cost share after you take a look at that section, please let us know. And what's the email address again? Is the NEUP@inl.gov.
Can the proposal include a co-PI in a foreign institution?
Yes, but no funding may be provided to the foreign institution from the funds that come from the federal government.
This is another part to that question, and maybe what you answered might have answered it, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it. Can they receive funding through the subcontract or only through their visiting to the U.S.?
They can receive no funds from the U.S. federal government, including travel.
Can a non-DOE research lab, such as DoD Research Lab, be eligible as a co-PI? And if yes, will that affect the proposal review?
Yes, they may, and no, it will not affect the review.
Are students on student visas allowed on the projects at a university?
Yes, they are.
Okay. For NSUF with R&D, can you dedicate some of the money to support graduate students and summer salary for PIs?
Absolutely. That would come out of the R&D support component and not the NSUF access budget.
Okay, we are going to wrap up question and answer for this initial overview. Any questions that were not answered during this time, those individuals will get answers by email later this afternoon, and then we will post those questions, like I said before, onto the NEUP.gov website. And we will make some clarifications to both the visa question and make sure that that cost share is very clear for everyone